Þattarettast, it'll all be okay.
Þattarettast. I love that. What you just heard is one of the many, many things that I learned while I was in Iceland. And we have so much more where that came from coming to you in this episode today. So hello and welcome back to Jump Podcast. I'm Traveling Jackie, founder and host of both this show and of Jump Adventures, where I invite you to set the headphones down and join us offline in person for active adventures in epic destinations around the world. Because remember that you can listen and read and research all you want, but in the end, it is you who takes the leap. And through Jump Adventures, I am extending an invitation for you to take a leap with us. You can learn more, find out where we're going next, subscribe to all the updates, and join us at jumpadventures.com. And you can come say hi on Instagram at jump.adventures or find me personally at Traveling Jackie. Those of you who are regular listeners know that I am back on the mic after taking my first properly scheduled break from podcasting in the 8 years that I have been producing this show. So first of all, thank you for respecting that break, and thank you for being here listening now. And whether you're a longtime listener or this is your first time, I hope that you enjoy what I have planned for you in this series. And if you are one of the people who have shown up in person during the break on our recent Jump Adventures to Patagonia and Montana, then thank you for participating in taking this whole thing to another level with me. There is absolutely nothing like turning off the screen and meeting you guys in person on our group trips, and it is so nice to be back in the saddle of travel again. This year is a different year for the podcast, not just because of the break, but also because of what's coming up on the show. I'm only producing one very intentional series of episodes this year, and the common thread throughout each episode of this series is that I'm taking you with me on my own adventures that I have personally participated in this year. To be very honest with you, it felt very strange, almost counterproductive to be taking a break from podcasting right as podcasting seems to be finding its real groove. And even this show with our 160 episodes recently surpassed 2 million downloads. We got featured in a new Apple Podcast travel collection right next to names like Anthony Bourdain, Rick Steves, and other crazy big internationally known names, which is fabulous, all of it, truly. But my purpose, my intention, no matter what any industry says I should do, is to be authentically me. And if I'm going to be podcasting, I want to create quality episodes for you. And in order to do that, I needed to take the break. And I'm saying that out loud because those are the circumstances that helped inspire me to create this series for you. Every one of these episodes represents a destination that I am choosing to travel to for a reason with an intention. And I'm going to share those reasons and intentions with you throughout these episodes. And my invitation for you to keep in mind as you listen is to consider your own reasons and intentions, or maybe even your goals, as you travel and explore, near or far, so that you can add a layer of internal exploration to your external experiences. So to kick this series off, we are starting with a destination I have long had quite near the top of my list, which is, of course, Iceland. Today, my goal is to whisk you away with me to the land of fire and ice. And to do that, I have enlisted the help of a few friends. In the first part of the episode, you're going to hear my friend Kirsten and I reliving a recent experience that we had in Iceland, where we'll give you several ideas, rather exciting ones, including a couple of must-dos for your next visit or stopover in Iceland. And then in the second part of the episode, we get to chat with 2 Icelandic locals whom I met while I was there. And let me just say, you do not want to miss this part. After it's all over, you might be hungry. You might be feeling a little bit whimsical, and you'll definitely be pining to get to Iceland as soon as you possibly can, for real. You may also have a very strange craving for licorice. So I hope that today, right here, right now, whether you've been there before or not, you get to experience Iceland like you've never experienced it before. So maybe grab a snack or a drink, take a deep breath, open your mind to new ideas, and come away with us to the volcanic island where elves and trolls and the daughters of Vikings roam. We're so grateful to Osprey Packs for partnering with us and supporting the podcast, so please stay tuned for more about them later on. I have an opportunity for you to join me in real life for some real travel. Here's the latest Jump Adventures update. We are going to Greece for a bike and boat island hopping adventure this May 9th to 16th, 2025, and we still have space left. Check out jumpadventures.com to learn more and book now. We're going to have a yacht all to ourselves with ensuite cabins on board, so you get to sleep in the same bed every night as we start in Athens and make our way west toward the island of Corfu. You'll have your own bike for the week, e-bike if you want one, for cycling the islands as we go, in between meals crafted by our private chef on board, and all the relaxing you want to do on the top deck under the Mediterranean sun. These bike and boat adventures are our most carefree and relaxed trips. All you have to do is say yes and show up, and there's still space. Head over to jumpadventures.com to grab your spot now, and we'll see you there. So I'm here with the very talented and lovely Kirsten Alana. She's a blogger, photographer, world traveler, backyard traveler, and all around such a beautiful person. Kirsten, welcome to my podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
In a way, I feel like this is overdue, and yet perfect timing because of what we're here to talk about today. But we've known each other for 6 years now or something.
Yeah, and it's been a while in a good way.
Yeah. And by some beautiful design, we both ended up at a travel conference together about a month ago, not even that long ago, where we were both invited to go on a trip to Iceland, which we did last week.
That was so fun and random.
Yeah, so quick and spontaneous and kind of amazing. And that's what we get to talk about today. So first of all, I really am so happy that you are here to chat with me about this, because you've been to Iceland before, which which gives you a differing perspective from my first timer senses all around, and so I'm hoping that we can sort of share the mic in a way that just invites both of us to dig into what that meant for each of us. Not just what we did, of course, which is the main event here, but what we were looking forward to, maybe what we were nervous about. I definitely want to talk about that. What surprised us, and then ultimately, hopefully we will leave our listeners today with just some inspiration and maybe some direction for their next trip to Iceland. So what do you think?
Yeah, I love it.
Sweet. So my first question for you, I guess, to get this going, and we can kind of both answer these, I guess, is, what did you know about Iceland going in? What were you basically expecting? What did you know already?
Well, like you said, I'd already been, but it's funny because I had not really spent much time in Reykjavik itself when I went to Iceland before. And this was many years ago now. I'm not even going to say exactly what year, because it was a long time ago. My partner and I went on a vacation to Iceland to drive and do the ring road, quote unquote, as a road trip. And so that's a very popular thing for a lot of tourists who really want to see a lot of Iceland. It is literally a major road in Icelandic terms that rings most of the island that is the country of Iceland. And so we drove that, I think, in a little over 2 weeks, somewhere between 2 and 3. And we really were only in Iceland to arrive in Iceland, or in Reykjavik to arrive in Iceland and then to depart Iceland. So we did do the Blue Lagoon, and we had maybe one afternoon walking around town. But I arrived this time to such a different town than the one that I'd seen years ago. And so I think I tried to not have expectations and just to be excited that I would get to explore a part of the country that I didn't really see a lot of last time.
Yeah, I love that, because this actually is going to segue right into the thing that I was nervous about going to Iceland, because I love that you did that as a trip, as a vacation. I love that you went on vacation first of all.
An actual vacation.
I know. In the travel industry, that doesn't usually exist. So
no, we don't take those often enough.
I know. And it's something that I dream about, before this trip, the day before we were invited, somebody actually asked me, where do you want to go right now? And I listed off 4 countries, my top 4, which are Norway, Iceland, Greenland, and New Zealand. These are the top countries that I'd like to see right now. And the next day we got invited to Iceland. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay. You know, like we are doing this. But when I imagine myself going to Iceland, I imagine myself doing something like what you did, which is the ring road. And this trip came up so quickly that there wasn't really any time to plan anything big. And so what we ended up doing was spending almost 4 full days in Reykjavik. And this is what I was nervous about, because before going, what I knew about Iceland was adventure, 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 volcanoes, glaciers, waterfalls, hot springs, ring road, you know, golden circle, all these things that I'd heard about.
Yeah.
Almost
and they're great.
Right. I mean, well, I'll take your word for it. And almost none of which have to do with the city. I'm like in my head quoting city of Reykjavik, which is like a big town. It is so adorable. But anyway, I was nervous about that because while I definitely wanted to say yes to this, because Iceland is a yes for me. Absolutely. You know, like, yes, let's go. But I was afraid that I was not going to, well, I guess I have these dreams, like expectations of doing this big adventure trip in Iceland, right? And that's not what we were going to do. We were going to be in the city, which is generally not, I'll also quote, my thing, which is totally a stereotype for myself. And so, and I've broken it before, like I understand that. But anyway, let's get into what that actually looked like, because we spent all of our time in Reykjavik and holy goodness, I loved it.
It's actually awesome.
I loved it. So let's talk about what we did too, because I think a lot of people can take a layover in Iceland and they end up staying in Reykjavik for like 3 days. So what we did is actually pretty common.
Yeah, it's actually a thing that Icelandair, I think, still offers. I know they were definitely offering it pre-2020, and I think they're either back to doing it or they're still doing it, where you can literally book a trip to, let's say if you're, you know, from the United States, you can book your flight to Europe and do a stopover in Reykjavik for a few days, and then just continue on to your destination in Europe. And it's not actually any extra added cost. It's just you're leaving the airport and spending a few nights in town before you board your second flight to Europe. I think it's awesome.
I do too. If Icelandair works for you, then I absolutely think so too. I actually flew Icelandair over, and one thing to just be aware of is I had this tiny little carry-on. Like I have a global size carry-on that's, I mean, it's little, and they made me check it. I'm like, okay, really? So
anyway, I saw your bag. It was small. Yeah, that's silly.
There was that on the way over. And also you have to buy your food on the plane, which is a little strange. I'm not used to that. I mean, they offer zero, not a snack, nothing, just the beverages. And so you have to be prepared for that unless you just, you know, want to pay for it. But anyway, other than that, it was fine. And from Bozeman, I was super impressed because we can get almost nowhere fast from Bozeman. We're an extra leg from everywhere. And it was door to door 12 hours for me, which is, it does kind of blow my mind. I went first to Seattle and then over. And I mean,
you spent less time in the air, I think, than I did going from Los Angeles, which is a more major airport.
Yeah, I think so. It was only like 7 hours for me. I was stoked on that. Like 7 hours is short for me. So anyway, okay. So let's talk about what we did.
And I think we started the time that you and I had together before we met up with the rest of their group. We started out with a good activity in terms of like, if you do want to see Reykjavik, but you don't only want to see Reykjavik, we went out on a boat. And I thought the scenery that we got to see was beautiful.
We tried really hard to get out of the city, which we did. We went on a whale watching tour, which was kind of hilarious because we got so excited about the whale watching, dolphin watching, and possibility to see puffins, especially in the summertime, is what they say. We saw nothing at all. Like literally we were part of the 5% of trips that goes out and sees nothing, such that they offered us another ticket that's valid for like 3 years. So we have to go back within the next 3 years so we can go see some puffins. Dang it.
And I am willing to make that sacrifice and go back with you.
Yes, I am too. Okay, so let's talk about our neighborhood and the cool things that we discovered down by the dock, which includes one of our really fun activities that we did, which I have a feeling you may have been a little nervous about this one. But we stayed in the Grandi neighborhood, which is kind of a new neighborhood, right?
It's definitely new in terms of it having like people that promote it as a neighborhood that you should go to do things. Because when I was in Reykjavik, I did walk through the neighborhood that we spent time in, and nobody called it Grandi back then. But like I said, kind of in the beginning of our discussion, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, right. It's been really built up, but they've done a really cool thing with the old harbor area. There are entrepreneurs moving their little shops in there and selling goods, and they're super artisan.
Into the old fisherman shacks.
Yeah, it's really cool. So we had a lot to explore just down in the harbor in this area, which I mean, it's so walkable. This whole city is so walkable. And I mean, we were a 10-minute, maybe 7-minute walk from downtown Reykjavik. And we were
I would say even less than that if you're like walking without stopping.
And then right on the other side of the road from us, like a 1-minute walk, is this old harbor area, which is just coming. It's like up and coming.
Totally up and coming is the vibe that I got. Totally.
And we did a really cool thing there that I definitely want to talk about, because we did a flyover. It's called the Flyover Iceland. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys listening have ever done a flyover experience. I'm not talking about flight seeing. This is something where you go,
a real plane or helicopter.
This is something where you go into a building, and it's essentially like a motion theater. And
that's a good description.
And so Kirsten, I know you were nervous about this going forward.
I was so nervous because I get so motion sick, and I was worried that it was going to make me sick, but it didn't. I mean, I took Dramamine. I was very prepared.
You shared it with me. Thank you.
I shared some with you, and
it kind of worked.
Yes, it kind of worked, because it's definitely one of those things that, like, you know, we who suffer from really severe motion sickness, we know that anytime motion is involved on land, in the air, on water, like there's the potential for it to be unpleasant. And so I think if you suffer from motion sickness, you know how to prepare. And as long as you're doing that, then you shouldn't be afraid. But I'm not going to lie, I was still a little bit apprehensive because it was so different from anything I've done as an adult. I didn't know what to expect.
And and I'm actually with you there. I get motion sickness as well, which I will say one thing about this, and maybe I'll put a link in the show notes, is I have this amazing thing called a relief band that is, it's like it sends digital electric pulses into your wrist and like helps muffle motion sickness, nausea at all, actually. And my problem was the charging cord was like malfunctioning, and that's what I figured out in the end, that it was the charging cord. The piece itself is still fine, but
awesome.
Oh my goodness, I didn't have it. And so I was really nervous about that too. And thank you for sharing your Dramamine with me, because that's a real thing. Let's talk about the actual experience, because this is the type of thing that if you hear about a flyover experience that's inside a building, you might roll your eyes. And Kirsten, you said you were nervous about this being like a touristy thing that maybe you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And guess what you found out? Talk about that for a second.
I loved it. Oh my gosh. When it was over, I was like, no, why is it over? It ended way too quickly. I was so bummed that there wasn't more. I went from being a person that was terrified that we were going to be asked to talk about something cheesy and horribly touristy, all in negative ways, to somebody who in the span of 10 minutes couldn't get enough, and it ended too soon, and I didn't want it to be done. I mean, it was like whiplash from how I expected it to be to how it actually was.
Yeah. And I love that, because the first time, so I did, if you guys ever get a chance to do any flyover, like try it. And definitely when you're in Reykjavik, you've got to do this flyover Iceland. But I remember the first time I did one was actually in the Mall of America. There's a flyover America, and I went in with the same thing. I'm like, what are we even doing? Like, what is this? We're inside. Like, what is this? And it like made me tear up. It was so beautiful. It was so well done. And I mean, when we got out of it, they're all like 15 minutes long. I was like, I would do that again right now. And I felt the exact same way with Iceland. I was really looking forward to the flyover because I've done it and I know how cool it is, but you have to experience it. It's like one of those things that you really need to go and do it. And this flyover Iceland is right in this old harbor, the Grandi area, like the old harbor district. And the whole experience takes 30 minutes. You get to, especially, I loved this part too, is when you walk in, it takes you through a whole adventure of like how Iceland was made, and it brings their mythology into it. Like a troll is the one telling the stories. And like, it's so interesting to just dive straight into their beliefs as a culture and to see what their country was literally built on. I mean, geologically, and then also just mythologically. I mean, I don't know if I can say that because even
Geology
today
and
they
mythology,
said,
I think
yeah,
so.
but I think even the Icelanders today that we were hanging out with, they said, we're not going to deny that trolls don't exist. We're not going to deny it. Maybe we'll say I've seen one, but we're not going to deny that they don't. So like mythology, I don't know if that's fair to say that.
But, it's part of their culture and their identity, even if
Totally
they don't literally believe that fairies and trolls walk amongst us today. It's still the stories that they've been raised with. It's still part of their cultural identity to have some feeling about those things and to have them be stories that are told and retold. And I think that's totally admirable, because I don't think that we should, as any society, look to like go into the future completely negating everything that's been part of our past. I don't really think that that's a way to win as humanity, like just to forget everything that's made us who we are. And granted, there's some negative stuff in all of our collective history as human beings, but to believe in trolls and fairies and like and have those stories be part of your cultural identity, I think as long as they're not doing harm, what is the harm then? I thought it was really sweet and fun.
I love it. And it's whimsical and it keeps the imagination alive, and
totally.
It's, I mean, imagine growing up and going to look for trolls in the lava fields that got turned into stone when the sun came out, because they can only roam at night. Like, how fun
it's something that inspires the imagination. It turns an ordinary landscape into something that's extraordinary.
Yeah. So
I loved it.
So did I. And and so that's how you start this whole experience, is by kind of doing a deep dive into all of that history. And then you go into the actual flyover experience. And I mean, you walk in like it's kind of like it's a giant roller coaster row. Like you sit down.
Yeah, that's a little bit. Yeah.
Buckle in. Yeah. And then the lights go out. You buckle in because, well, you'll see why. The lights go out, and you
like we don't want to give it all away.
I know it's like they're going to actually get to experience it right here with us, but you feel yourself moving forward. And when the lights come on, especially in this one, Flyover Iceland, it started with, I mean, you're over a glacier with the northern lights, and it was amazing. Immediately I was like, oh wow, because what they did is they took a helicopter and they put a camera, it's like a 360 camera, underneath the nose of the helicopter. And they spent 100 hours recording, flying all over the remote and not so remote corners of Iceland. And they put it together in this gorgeous 15-minute experience where in your seat, you bank and move and bump with the helicopter. So it feels like you're in it, and you
mist in your face.
Yes. And wind. And you can look all around because the camera allows that sort of peripheral vision. It's amazing. It really was so well done.
I know. I want to go. We're talking about it now, and I'm like, please, can I just go back right now and do it again? I don't. Once was not enough.
Yeah,
which is a perfect segue into the fact that what did we discover as we were talking to locals, unprompted and unscripted?
That they loved it too, and they've been, and they would apparently just tear up and get so excited to see all these corners of their very own country that they've never even seen.
Yeah.
Which is,
it was
really
actually
special.
Locals that kept Flyover Iceland in business during the 2020, 2021 years when you couldn't visit Iceland as a tourist.
Which that right there, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for us, I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, we always tell people as travel writers to go to the places that locals go. Like if you see it busy with locals, then that means it's a really quality thing, whether it's a restaurant, whether it's an attraction, whether it's a park. And we say that about other things. So I don't know why we wouldn't say that about Flyover Iceland, because we literally found it to be true. I mean, when people found out why we were in Reykjavik and they said, you know, what do you plan to do here? And we casually mentioned Flyover Iceland. I mean, their faces lit up. And some of them were like, I went 4 times in 2021, or like, I took my whole family.
Yeah.
And they were so proud of the film because it shows their country in such an absolutely stunning light. I mean, it literally makes their country look better than anything else ever has. And so there was immense pride from them in talking about it because they wanted you to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
I loved that.
And it's really an incredible way. I mean, for me, I've never been to Iceland. I haven't done the Ring Road yet, you know, and so it was a really, 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 I think authentic, really beautiful way to get to experience part of the country without even having to go anywhere. I mean, because you can't get all of that. When you walk out afterwards, they show this map on the wall, a giant map with all of these highlighted places of where you went. And I mean, it's everywhere. It's all over the country. And you can't even get to some of these places. We're flying over the ocean, we're flying over glaciers, we're flying over
islands,
erupting volcanoes.
Erupting volcanoes, and just places also at their absolute best. So like there are areas of Iceland that are inaccessible because of weather and because of, you know, exploding volcanoes, erupting volcanoes. So like there are things that you'll see in the Flyover Iceland movie that you never actually would be able to see as a tourist or local. And so that adds another layer of, you know, just majesty to the whole experience, because you're seeing things you literally could not see any other way except for the Flyover experience.
I think these are going to be up and coming, these Flyover experience. I think they're going to get more popular, and I think we're going to start seeing them more often. And I really love that they're doing guest shows. So like once one is made, if there's a Flyover location, then they likely are going to be hosting other destination shows, which I think is super cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
they were hosting a Wild West one when we were there, which was the southwestern United States.
We walked in and the first thing I saw in Iceland was Bryce Canyon. I'm like, wait, where are we again? Like, what are we doing? But how cool is that? That's exactly the point is, So that ended up being super surprising, super awesome experience. 2 thumbs up from both of us. Bring your relief band or your Dramamine. But yeah, it's absolutely worth it.
It was. I was so sincerely surprised by how much I loved it because I did not expect to. But that was not the only awesome thing we did. I mean, we had so much great food. We had so many amazing interactions with locals.
Yep. I will give a shout out to the place that we went for dinner on the first night. I loved that place. Monkey's Bar. I think
Monkey's Bar.
The service was amazing. The food, we all shared like little plates. And the inside of this restaurant, which opens up to this little courtyard, actually, where we kind of sat until the sun like dipped over the buildings, which was really nice having a drink before dinner. But the inside of this building was super cool. It felt very old. There was a train car in it with a sign over it that said Champagne Lounge. And there were little tables that, like each section of this restaurant were like designed differently. It was just, and it was delicious. So it was just a fun place to be. We also went to the Italian restaurant, BakaBaka.
BakaBaka, it was so good. It was up in the little attic space of this preserved historic building with corrugated siding and all this little historical cute trim in white, and it's just really good food, really nice experiences, and really pretty locations. And it was basically all locals. Like there were not other tourists there when we were dining there.
And it was they said it was one of the oldest buildings in Reykjavik. And they're still using it for a restaurant. It's super rad.
I just loved that.
And
the pizzas, oh my gosh, they were so good.
Wood-fired pizzas. In case you need a little bit of Italy and Iceland, because who doesn't?
It was like Naples in the middle of Reykjavik. It was weird, but weird in the best way. It was So good.
It makes sense though, because one of the things we learned while we were at that restaurant was that it used to be an Icelandic restaurant and it didn't really work and this makes sense. When you have such a small population of people, you need to make your locals happy, right? Especially when tourism is iffy, like it has been the last couple of years. And this Icelandic fare restaurant didn't survive because guess what? People can cook in their houses in Iceland, Icelandic fare, right? Like it's just like the traditional cuisine. And so most of the restaurants that you're going to find are not actually Icelandic fare. They are international cuisine because that's what the Icelanders want. That's what keeps them alive, is by offering international cuisine, which makes sense. But I was still kind of surprised to learn that. It's like, oh, well, that's why we're not being offered fermented shark everywhere. Going back to what we knew about Iceland going in, that was one of the things that I knew about Iceland going in.
I was a little scared we were going to be asked to eat that because I did try it the first time I was in Iceland. And I just have to say, apologies to Iceland, but I'm not a fan of fermented shark. I don't want it. So I did not want to be like having an awkward conversation again about why I don't want more. But we did try something that's very Icelandic. We had hot dogs.
Yes. And the hot dogs are made with lamb meat, interestingly. Because that's what they have a lot of in Iceland. And so, but the street hot dogs, those are totally a thing, apparently.
And they have their own very special way of like making them up. You know, as a person who's been to Chicago a lot, you're going to be familiar with one type of hot dog in the United States. If you're a former New Yorker like me, you're going to be familiar with another type of hot dog. And then there's the Reykjavik street hot dog that's totally different as well. They have a couple of different kinds of mustards. They have this crispy onions that you can get on it. So you got to try it at least once.
And as somebody just commented, I shared a photo the other day and they said the hot dogs were the only thing I could afford in Iceland. So there you go. Valid. Something affordable for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving on from the food, my favorite experience, my favorite thing that we did. I mean, this is so easy, but it was the Sky Lagoon.
God, it was so relaxing. I really need to go back there with my stress level right now.
Oh my gosh. I wish we could do it a weekly thing like the locals do. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I loved that they said they have passes for locals and some locals will literally come every week. And that's their way that they center themselves to reduce their stress and to take care of their bodies during the week. And I just thought that was beautiful, you know, because the Blue Lagoon you think of as something that's so totally for tourists. And yet it was Sky Lagoon that was like, yes, okay, obviously we want you to come here as a tourist. We would love to have you. But this really is a place that we considered what would the locals want to do and what would the locals want to have. And then we built this for them.
Yeah. Will you tell us what the Sky Lagoon is?
It's wow. I mean, how do you even describe it? Because it's so different from what we do in the United States. It's basically like a public bathhouse with this 7-step ritual for wellness. So there's a main lagoon pool, which is not mineral water. It's just fresh, really, really warm water, which is heated by Iceland's amazing hydropower, I guess, or thermal power maybe. And so you can spend a lot of time in there and it's awesome. And I want you to talk more about that. But then there's also these 7 steps that you go through that have to do with like saunas and steam. And even there was like a snow room or something. How would we even describe that?
The cold
and then
mist
a salt
room,
scrub, the cold mist room. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's take people through this because I think you've mentioned a couple times now the Blue Lagoon, and I think they're almost, when you think of Iceland, you think of the Blue Lagoon. It's almost like the same, you know?
Yeah, they're very iconic together.
Yeah, and this is essentially an alternative. It's different. It's set up differently, but it's the same idea that it's a big hot pool. But this one, I mean, that sounds really boring. This one is, I've never been to the Blue Lagoon, so I can't actually speak about that. And I have no offense, but I don't know if I could go after going to the Sky Lagoon. Like, I loved it so much that, so the difference, one of the bigger differences for me is that the Sky Lagoon, like, and only from photos, the Blue Lagoon is like white on the bottom. And I think I always
it's very milky
associate-
water. You can't
Yeah.
see down in it because of all the minerals that are in the water at the Blue Lagoon. And you actually have to be careful because like it can ruin your suit because the mineral content is so high. And it's all about like, you know, parts of the earth are basically in the water. So you're not in fresh water, you're in very, very high mineral content water, but you are kind of swimming and bathing. And then there's Sky Lagoon.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know that specifically about the Blue Lagoon, but the Sky Lagoon, yeah, it's super clear water and has a black bottom. And for whatever reason, this is totally personal, I really enjoy dark bottom hot springs. Like they feel more natural to me. I really like them. So this one looked entirely volcanic. In fact, that's a good point, is when you walk up to the Sky Lagoon, all you see is one like facade in front of you with a door that goes into the hill, because it's built in traditional Icelandic turf house style. Yeah. So what turf house means is it's covered in grass. So like you don't even see, you see but a doorway going into the hill that's just kind of welcoming you in. And once you walk in, it's this it's a gorgeous lobby with a restaurant, and there's a coffee shop, and it's dark, like it's ambient. I love it.
Yes.
And you go in there,
very calming.
Yes, that's what it is. And there are plants everywhere, and it just feels very natural. And then depending on which package you choose, because you can do there's a cheaper one, and then there's a which is more like shared locker rooms, etc. And then there's a private one where, and this is the one that we did, where you go in and you get your own little cubby of like private changing room. There's a shower in there if you want it, and there's lockers, and you can just kind of prepare yourself there, and then you enter like the cave. Like you go, each of the locker rooms has an entrance into the lagoon that you kind of just like wind yourself around the volcanic rocks. And I mean, at this point you're under the open sky, and it just sort of opens up, and I almost feel like I'm like spoiling it for them again, kind of like the flyover thing, but you walk out and it's just this infinity lagoon, and you're looking at the ocean.
Yeah.
And the sky just opens up to you. And that's actually why they called it the Sky Lagoon. It's gorgeous. It's really well done. And then you turn and you see the Smakk Bar, and then you turn and you see the waterfalls, and you're like, where am I? What is happening right now? And it's just, it's hot water. None of this lukewarm stuff. Like it is so nice. There are like lava boulders built up all over the place, and they'll have benches around them. So you can just like take a seat wherever you want. And it's really well spread out. I mean, we were there with plenty of people, and I mean, I still felt like we had tons of space.
Yeah, you really can find like nooks and crannies of the lagoon that you can just have to yourself or the people that you're with.
Yeah.
And the steam kind of hides you from other people. And then there are little, like the rock landscape has been manufactured so that there are little places you can kind of hide. And then there's turf covering some parts of the landscape as well. So you've got the natural grass, and then you've got the areas that look like volcanic, rock. And it's just, it feels so natural, even though it was created. It doesn't feel like it was created by human beings. It feels like you're actually in one of the many hot springs that are actually in rural Iceland.
And then you can opt. You don't have to do the 7-step ritual that they are known for, but it's amazing. I don't think you can skip it. If you're there, you've got to do it.
I would say it's fair to say you shouldn't skip it, because it's so cool that after you've done it, you're like, oh my gosh, why would I have skipped that? It was amazing.
Yeah. There might have been a step that you skipped. I think you woke up the entire lagoon with it.
I am known as a bad Finn in my family, because my Finnish relatives are really big on saunas and then freezing themselves to death in cold water. And I still can't take the cold water. So I definitely dipped a part of my body in, but then I was like, I can't submerge all the way to my neck.
You screamed so loud. It was so funny. I mean, I was
I was facing the lagoon at that point, and so many heads turned and I was in it already. I was in. So here's the thing. If you're going to do a cold pool, just do it, because it is so beneficial for the muscles. And this is something I have learned to do through trail running, is when I get done with a trail race, I have learned that if there's an ice bath around, if I get in it, I don't get sore. And it's amazing. It's that easy. And so that's is why I do it. It's very much mind over matter, because it's cold. Yeah. But I mean, it's honestly, it's not as cold as an ice bath because there wasn't any ice in it. So we got in the cold water. I think I sat for at least 2 minutes, probably more than 2 minutes in the cold pool. There were only a couple of us that were able to make it work into the cold pool. You were not one of them. No, but shout out to Cody, because she was the one who did it with me. But yeah, we from the cold pool. So you get right out of the hot lagoon, you dip in the cold pool, and then you enter into another just door in the turf, you know, in the hillside. It's like,
it looks like you're walking into someone's little house.
Yeah, like a little grass hut. Yeah. And the first step in there is the sauna, which it's a dry sauna. Most of you guys know what a dry sauna is, but this one has the biggest window ever installed in Iceland is in there.
It is literally in the whole country.
Yeah. It's a massive window, and it just overlooks the water. You don't even see land underneath you. You're like cantilevered over the ocean with this giant window just looking out. Oh, in a sauna? Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, and people say that they've seen seals like in the water right outside the window, just kind of peering, like, what are these people? What is this? So you really feel so close to nature, even though there's a window in between you and the ocean.
And it's quite big, so you're not crowded in there.
No, definitely not crowded.
And so that's 1, 2, 3, the third step, I guess. And then you go in, and then this is there's a cold mist. So you go back into the little hut area and out another door, which just puts you in this, it's almost like it's funny because it was raining on us that day, which I thought was perfect. But the cold mist almost just feels like a rainy day. So it felt kind of like natural for the day that we had.
It was like any afternoon up in the Scottish Highlands. For me. Yeah. That's what I thought of.
And it's just like raining down on you from, you're kind of in this chamber that's open to the sky. Yep. And it's just cold misting down on you. And some people like just lay down on the pavement and just lay there in the cold. I mean, I kind of walked around for a few minutes and was done with that one. But that's the next step. And then you go inside and it's a scrub. There's a body scrub. And they make all of these personal care things. Yeah.
Bath products themselves.
They make them all there. They're all designed by their in-house team and manufactured. And so you can use their body scrub. You get it all over you. I loved this part. The next step was my favorite one, which is the steam sauna. You go into the steam sauna with this scrub all over you. And I can't describe it other than delicious. It's delicious. It feels so good on your skin and your body. It's like your body is breathing this in. And even when you take a breath, like with your real lungs, it's like cream. It's like you're breathing in butter. I don't even know.
So I love that description. It's so accurate though.
Oh my gosh. I could have.
Yeah, that wet sauna with the scrub still on your skin. That was good. That was really good.
Yeah. And you're meant to sit there until all the scrub like melts into your skin, which then you feel like butter. It's just like a butter bath.
It's so true.
It's so good.
Butter bath.
And then you go back into the little hut area and you shower. Yep. And then you can I dipped back into the cold pool before I got back into the lagoon because it's like on the way.
Yes.
And then you go and you get another drink from the bar, another sparkling rosé, and you hang out with your girlfriends and have just the greatest day. I think we spent 5
raining
hours.
And you can go under the waterfall and have it massage your shoulders. And even when it starts raining, it doesn't matter because you're in this beautiful, huge, like jacuzzi tub style lagoon. And oh my gosh, even when it's raining, it is still an amazing experience. I don't think I've ever enjoyed being out in the rain more than when you were in the lagoon, just enjoying the lagoon. It was almost like the rain was immaterial. And yet it also added this elemental feeling to it. Like you were truly one with nature, even though you were in this totally manufactured environment, but it didn't feel like that at all. It felt so natural. I loved it. Oh,
Yes,
gosh.
absolutely a must do. So I definitely recommend it, but also you've got to do the 7-step ritual. And I also recommend the private changing rooms, because I will say it
especially
was
for Americans.
Yeah, right. No, you're right. Fair point. Yeah, fair point, because the other side is actually quite open. And I think so,
you're
however
getting
you're
naked with lots and lots and lots of other people, which is a very European and a very Icelandic thing.
Right.
That's where all the, Austrians and the Germans would go. That's where the Icelandic people go. They go on the public side, and more power to them. I honestly wish I was that comfortable with my body. I would love to get to that point in my life.
But until then, there's this private option for you.
Yes.
Yeah, which was really, really nice. I always say luxury is in the details. And this is one detail that it felt so good, because I mean, you're getting out of the lagoon and there's fresh towels right there. And you walk in and like, oh, there's this little room just with fresh towels and a fresh shower. Like everything's clean and it's just there for you. And all of their bath products, shampoo, conditioner, like my hair felt so good for so long after that. I didn't want to wash it again. I mean,
they thought of every detail.
Yeah, they really did. And so I really would recommend the private side. I would say it's worth it. Like just treat yourself, go for it.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, it's not something I do often. I do want to get after the adventure element in Iceland, right? I do want to go on the ring road, but it was so indulgent for me to be able to spend an entire day. That felt like a vacation. Back to the vacation thing. It felt like a vacation for me, and it was so nice.
I think we have to do that for ourselves sometimes, because while adventure and being out truly in nature, where it's just you and your backpack and you're camping and you're roughing it, etc., that's an amazing way to experience our planet. And you do that so well. But also your body also does need to rest and recharge. You can't only push your body. You often have to take these breaks that tell your body, okay, now you get to rest and relax and be pampered, because I know you need that too. Like we need both. And so I feel like the Sky Lagoon is that thing that your body needs, that it can't audibly tell you it needs. But after you've gone through the 7 steps and you've spent hours at the lagoon, you realize how much better you feel physically for having taken that time.
Absolutely. And I ultimately have, I guess, sorted out in my mind that I think an ideal trip to Iceland would be getting to experience Reykjavik. Do not miss Reykjavik. And I'll get back to that in a second, because there's a point there that I haven't made yet that I really want to stress, but would be explore Reykjavik. While you're there, do the flyover, because you're not going to be, no matter what you do in the remote areas of Iceland, you are not going to be able to see what they have on this short film. It's amazing. And then go do your adventure, get out, go play. And when you come back, warm up. I want to say warm up in the Sky Lagoon. We met Annie. Remember meeting Annie in there?
Yes.
Annie had just been on an 8-day expedition skiing across a glacier. She said it went amazing. Yeah. It went well. They got rained on. They got all sorts of weather. She said she's been cold for 8 days. And here she is, like with her drink in hand in the Sky Lagoon. And I'm just thinking, you are in the right place right now. Like you are doing this right. Pat on all of our backs for being here today, because it was just like, oh man, it was just a really special moment. It really, truly was.
It was. And there were so many groups there that you could tell they were having those same feelings of like, this is what we needed. This is how we had to do it. This is so great. We are so glad that we are here.
Yeah. And you know what? You don't have to leave, because they have a full, they have a restaurant and bar there where you can get, and this is where we had some of the best local fare that we actually had the whole trip was at the Sky Lagoon, because they have charcuterie boards, which are perfect for sharing. But you get to taste, we had smoked duck, we had lamb tartare, I want to say. Oh my gosh, the reindeer. That's right. We had cheeses, chocolate with licorice, which when you go to Iceland, you'll learn that licorice is a thing. You've got to try it in one way or another. I ended up trying it in the chocolate, which wasn't my favorite, but I tried it. It was like, okay, this is so strange. I'm like trying to wrap my mind around what I'm eating right now. And they have different beers and wines and cocktails. They have a lot of local gins. Like it's great.
They had
and
a
if
sparkling tea that was amazing.
That's right.
Yep.
Non-alcoholic. That's right. And what I really liked about this is that you can take your whole day. Like I would recommend the whole day. Don't go in an afternoon. Like don't do that to yourself. Don't go when you have to be
Don't
somewhere.
limit yourself.
Yeah, like go all day, because you can go in and have some soup, or go in and have a
oh God, that cauliflower
a
soup.
pastry, or or go in and have a charcuterie board or a drink, and the
fresh baked bread that they served the charcuterie board with, and the soup with. That bread was
let's just say we ate a lot of it while we were in Reykjavik. We did. And also for logistics purposes, you can easily take a taxi, but there are public buses that go there. I was asking about this because you can, if you take the time to figure it out, you can get there by bus. So it doesn't have to be super expensive. And
exactly.
And they're going to be open longer in the summer. So I don't know if that's going to be
the long hours of daylight.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be the same in the winter, but definitely just, double check before you guys go. But yeah. Oh my gosh. So, okay. Back to now, I want to share what my biggest surprise and my greatest takeaway was. And I would love for you to share yours as well from this trip to Reykjavik that we had. But my biggest surprise was, it ties back to my expectation and what I was nervous about, is that Iceland is fill in the blank, right? And I had described that as so much remote adventure. And I was nervous about that because I wasn't going to be able to really get out of Reykjavik on this trip. My biggest surprise is that I feel like I got the same takeaway, like Iceland's not hidden, it's actually everywhere, but like the greatest takeaway gem of Iceland is its people and its culture. That's what I think. And I got that tenfold by being in the city, by getting to be with the locals. We had a few amazing locals that were with us most of the time we were there. And I was endlessly entertained by these people. They were so fascinating to me. They told the funniest stories, and they were so relatable and just surprisingly, I don't know, delightful. And they are the ones who are really sticking with me. And I know that on every trip, that's basically what we take home, right? We take home the stories of the people. Isn't that true? And
true.
This is still what happened, even though we were and I'm saying even though, because in my mind, it was not like it was a different sort of expectation thing. It's still what happened, even though we were not able to on this trip get out into the backcountry of Iceland. Like we still were able to really get into the culture and the people. And I feel like it was such a gift to be able to experience the people the way that we did. And we did it in town. You know what? Like we did it in town, and it was amazing.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I really could just keep this short and say ditto on every level, which is particularly interesting to me, given that I had been before and you hadn't. But, going on vacation versus going for work and having people shepherd you around, you think in a prejudiced sort of way that when you're going on vacation, that's sort of like a more pure form of travel and you're getting a more realistic view of a place. But in reality, I feel like I got to know who and what Iceland is better on this trip than I did on my vacation. Now, on my vacation, I saw absolutely stunning landscapes. I absolutely got into the backcountry. We sometimes went 36 hours without seeing another human being. It was definitely adventurous. But I also felt like the only thing I really learned about Iceland, not literally, but almost the only thing I learned about Iceland was how beautiful the landscapes were. And this time around, I learned that the people are so funny and so friendly and irreverent, and they have such a zest for life, and they are just the most wonderful, entertaining people. And also, the food does not suck. Like when I went on my vacation, we just did not really know where to go. The culinary landscape of Iceland has changed since I was there, and we just did not have good food that first time around. And this time around, every meal was very, very good. And it really surprised me how good it was, because I had such low expectations based on my first experience. And so I think my biggest takeaway is just this idea that for those of us who actually work in the travel industry, as long as you actually do go with an open heart and mind, and you really go with your curiosity fully turned on, there is not necessarily a right or wrong way to do any country. It's all about your attitude and what you want to learn. And I think both of us went wanting to learn for different reasons, but we both went with such a desire to indulge our curiosity and learn, that we were able to do that. We didn't have to leave Reykjavik to do it. We just had to have that openness and that desire to learn. And we both did. And it was awesome. Truly awesome.
That was so well said. I was just like drinking it up because I so agree with you. That's you nailed it. You nailed it. And that you. Good job.
Mutual Appreciation Society. Iceland trip.
That's all of that, though, said between the two of us is saying a lot, because we are two pretty well-traveled people, and to be able to be so incredibly satisfied, exceeded expectations with 3 days in a city that we were both kind of nervous about is like, okay.
Yeah.
Why were we what we had something wrong there, And so, I think I love this example for people who are considering doing this layover thing in Reykjavik, because the question could be, is it worth it? Oh,
it's a valid question.
And the answer,
if you do it right, absolutely.
Well, I would say it's worth it. I would say it's worth it. Don't count out what you're going to find right in Reykjavik. Honestly, like that was my takeaway. And the other, I think a good point that we both sort of touched upon was not just the people. In order to connect with the people, you've got to put a foot out there. You got to try, and one of the ways you can do that is by getting a guide. And I love having guided adventures because they know where to take you, like you're not going to miss something really special if you're with a guide, unless you do the research yourself, which some people, my spreadsheet people out there, I hear you, I see you. I'm not one of them. And so I'm just not one of them, and like the research on my end, it doesn't get done. And so I really love it when somebody says, this is what you need to do. And I'm going to take you there. I'm going to help.
We'll come right back to that. Let's take a moment now to thank our wonderful show sponsors. Osprey is the market leader in technical outdoor, travel, and everyday packs. And I've personally used Osprey packs since 2015. My favorites are the Fairview Trek 50 for multi-day hikes, the Cirrus 24 for day hikes, the Transporter Rolling Duffel 60, which is my trusty check luggage for faraway adventures, and of course, the countless packing cubes I use to organize everything that goes in them. We are proud to support each other on the podcast and beyond. We love getting outside, and we want to see more people outdoors. So find out more and join us at osprey.com.
It's like for you, we didn't even have an issue with language here, but it's true everywhere that I feel like getting connected with the local people, whether it's even just a guide, like even if you just have one that you're hiring to be with you, do it. It is worth everything to be able to bridge that gap between the cultures and actually, experience something on a more local level. Wow.
I think all the preparation in the world can't prepare you for just the random interactions you can have if you leave yourself open to it. Like you can't schedule those on a spreadsheet. And if you have a guide, or if you have time built in to allow yourself to just meet people, then, you're going to experience things that you could just never plan for on a spreadsheet. And it's not, like you said, having a spreadsheet and planning is not a bad thing, but just also leave yourself some time and leave yourself opportunities to have a guide or to get to know locals as well. Try to find a balance between the two, maybe.
Absolutely. Okay. Well,
everybody's so good. I want to go back.
I know. Everybody's going to be putting 3 days in Reykjavik on their wish list now.
I hope so.
Whether it's a trip to just Iceland or Iceland and beyond. I hope so too. I hope so too. I'm so excited. It's like the greatest tease and the greatest introduction. I'm very, very happy with the trip that we just took and everything that we got to experience and learn. It was such a blast of culture. It was just so fun. It was so really fun. And I haven't been to a new country for myself personally. Fine. It's only been since 2020, but a lot has happened since then. And it felt good to do something totally new. Yeah. Oh, it was so fun.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's got to dip their toe in a place first. You had one experience, you're still going to go back. You still want to go back. All this did is sweeten the pot, so to speak.
Oh yeah. And now, oh man. Okay. Well, Hey,
We could
remember
go on about that forever.
remember when I said, hey, let's try and talk for about 30 minutes.
An hour later.
Yeah, almost an hour. Oh, this is what happens though. It's okay. It's okay because it's as long as it needs to be. So
Yeah.
Kirsten, thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else you want to add about Iceland before we wrap up?
Not if we want to keep it short. My advice would just be go. It really is as great as people say it is. It's such a fun country and the locals are so wonderful. Just go.
There you have it. Okay. And where can people find you when they want to follow you online?
I made it super simple. I don't have a brand name. I'm just Kirsten Alana everywhere online.
Okay, we'll make sure we put that in the show notes. And
Thank
yes,
you.
and I definitely hope to be seeing more of you in the future. So
Yes, ditto.
this was so great. And thank
Yes.
you again. I very much appreciate it. And on behalf of all the listeners, like you really brought a lot to the table today. So appreciate you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to call this our intermission break. If you need one, I just grabbed a snack and I have to tell you what it is. One of the places we went to in the Grandi neighborhood was Omnom Chocolate, which you may have heard of. There are, I think, several things that have made it rather famous. And I came home with like $20 in chocolate bars, and I have just been inspired to open one of them. It is my last one, and it is coffee and milk flavor. And I am telling you, it is so delicious and it's taking me back. So definitely make a stop at Omnom down at the Old Harbor. Get ice cream there. That's definitely what I did. Yum. And bring some chocolate home so you can enjoy it while you work, like I'm doing right now. All right, take a break if you need to, but we are continuing here with the gem of Iceland itself. Two of my Icelandic friends, Elma and Heidi, who were two of the amazing locals that we got to spend our time with and who are about to take you deep inside their culture, sharing some of their favorite Icelandic traditions, stories, and of course, their own tips for what to do in Reykjavik. And on that note, I have put in the show notes for you links to everything we're mentioning so you don't have to take notes. Check out the episode show notes for anything you want to circle back to. And let's go ahead and continue with Elma and Heidi.
Hi. It's
Hi.
so nice to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today.
Of course, happy to see you.
Yeah. So the gem of the story is actually you guys and your culture. This was my biggest takeaway. I was so excited to have gone to Iceland, the whole country, and only stayed in the city of Reykjavik and feel like I came away with the greatest gem, the greatest treasure, which was the stories and the culture and the relationships with the people. And that's because of you guys. And so that's why I specifically wanted to invite you on to just maybe give a little glimpse to everybody who's listening about what that feels like.
And I think that's one of the things about being such a tiny island and being isolated for such a long time is that we don't realize that some of these things might seem odd or different or interesting even. And I think
the first thing I thought was like, what were we saying again? What was interesting?
it's so natural for us. It's like, what, you don't believe in elves?
I love that. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Is I know that it doesn't seem outlandish because it's normal for you. But when I think about it, the reason I wanted to talk to you guys so much is because I don't actually know any other Icelanders. I don't have connections with other Icelanders. So meeting you I realized how special and unique that was because I hadn't learned very much about your culture before, ever. And so getting to spend 3 days with you was such a gift because I felt like, whoa, I am not here to see this city. I am here to learn about this culture that was created on this little island that's pretty isolated, and you guys are crazy fun and like just kind of do your own thing, and it's great. So that's
we are 365,000 now in total, counting everyone. So I think meeting an Icelander actually is probably quite rare.
It is. Yeah. So why don't we start with something really easy? How about your names? I know.
It's an easy one for me, but not for Heidi. Elma Árnadóttir is my full name, but Elma, I go by Elma.
Alma.
Most days.
Yes.
Yeah.
How do you spell that first name real quick before we get to Heidi's?
Elma.
Okay.
That's my first name. Then I have a middle name, which is Dís. D-I, kind of Icelandic I. It's the letter is pronounced E, then S. Elma Dís.
And it means fairy.
Yeah, fairy.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so pretty.
So that's another thing with the names. Every single name in Iceland has a meaning. So when we're choosing a name for our kid, we usually think about that quite a lot because it has meaning. So it needs to mean something that makes sense for us and for that newborn.
Yeah, and a very popular name after this winter is Storm.
Oh yeah.
Stormur
Really?
in Icelandic. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
we
is
do
it in
that a lot.
Icelandic? What did you say it was?
Stormur.
Okay. Cool. And then Heidi, okay, your turn, because your name is.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm actually born in the UK. My parents are Icelandic, but I'm born in the UK. And they must have been feeling homesick or something because they decided to give me the most Icelandic name of all. So my name is Ragnheiður Harpa Haraldsdóttir. Just nice and easy.
Yeah, nice and easy.
So the first name is Ragnheiður, and the middle name is Harpa. So you might recognize that from the musical. Yeah.
Yeah.
From the concert hall.
Yeah.
And Haraldsdóttir. So we follow the same tradition. We carry our father's first name and then Dóttir in the end because we are the daughter of our father. So very Viking-y.
Yeah.
But Ragnheiður is actually the name that I use in Iceland. It is not a tongue twister for Icelanders, but obviously it just does not translate to any other language. So very early on, I started using Heidi, and I use that for just about everyone who is foreign.
Yes. And who would like to pronounce a name for you. Yes, I totally understand. How do you spell your first name?
It's Ragnheid with a line through, which is a TH, and then UR.
And say it again.
Ragnheiður. It has rolling R's, it has the TH, it has everything. So Icelandic language is very, very difficult. Even in like World War II, they considered using it as a code language, but it was considered too difficult to learn. So it was unusable.
Not even as a code language. I love it.
No.
Yeah, just too tricky.
Yeah.
Who was trying to use it as a code language?
I'm not actually sure. It's just a story that we keep being told.
Okay.
Because I think it's really, really important for us to maintain the language. So this is one of those things when your history teacher and your Icelandic teacher is telling you and this in school, like it is very, very difficult. So if you're able to fully capture it, it is a kind of a skill.
And when what you don't realize when you're in school is that how amazing it is that you can read like the old Icelandic still today because we've maintained it so well.
And
or just didn't change.
Yeah.
So Heidi, real quick, you said you were born in the UK, but when did you guys move? You've grown up in Iceland.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So my parents, Icelanders, always follow the fish, and there was a fishing job in the north of England in the 90s. So my parents moved there, and I only lived there for the first 2 years. Came back here and have been here almost ever since.
Okay. I always love the story of why your mom wanted to move back when she took your sister swimming.
Yeah. So obviously we were talking about Icelandic culture quite a lot here, and there's certain things that make you an Icelander, if you can say that. And one of those things is obviously bathing culture. It's such a huge part of who we are, and it starts very young. You do infant swimming lessons, and then you pretty much continue doing that until you're old. Everyone, when they go into retirement, they look forward to meeting up in hot tubs and doing all the gossip and going over the news. So it's very important for us. And one of the things about bathing culture here is that we are very naked during the moments when we are changing into swimsuits, and we really do not care.
Yeah.
So almost to the point where you'll run into someone you meet in the change rooms, and even if you're both naked, you might even hug.
Yeah.
No one really cares.
Okay. Yeah.
So my sisters were living in the UK and were visiting Iceland, and my mom was taking them to a swimming pool. Obviously the first thing you have to do, and she noticed them trying to undress underneath the towel, and she was just like, "What are you doing?" And they said like, "Oh my God, everyone's naked and we're trying to change." And my mom was just like, and that's the moment I knew I was raising two kids. They were no longer Icelandic, and we had to move back.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it plays such an important role in being Icelandic, because she was just like, "Oh, that's the moment.
Yeah.
That's when I knew."
Being
Yeah.
able to change in front of other people
Yeah.
and not even think about it.
I think she
Yeah.
called the realtor the day after. She's like, "We're going home."
Oh man, I love that. I love that though. This UK is corrupting my children. Let them be naked.
Yeah. Exactly. Very typical.
And so you did you grow up where did you grow up then in Iceland? Were you in Reykjavik?
Very close to it, yes.
Okay.
So it kind of like the capital area.
Mm-hmm.
For us Icelanders, we will say, this is this town and this town and this town. But when you are visiting as a traveler, you probably won't even notice that the first town you enter is not Reykjavik. You actually drive through 3 different towns before you enter Reykjavik. But there's no sign, there's no distance in between. It's just like, this house is in Hafnarfjörður, and now this house is in Garðabær, and you just have to know.
Yeah, you have to know the streets and everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not say that Heidi grew up in the capital area, but I would say that she grew up in Hafnarfjörður, which is quite far from where I grew up in Icelandic scale.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
Elma is cool. She grew up in downtown Reykjavik.
Okay.
This is actually quite rare, I would say.
Yeah.
Is it?
So most like big families kind of live in the suburban area. And
my parents were asked if they were crazy raising their kids downtown in the downtown area. But the downtown area in Iceland is not very dangerous.
if you compare it to anywhere else, I
Yes.
think it is child's
Danger
play.
is not a word I would think of even close
No.
to describe Iceland or Reykjavik. Yeah, even from my perspective of just having been there.
No, it's just the only, they bought a house on the only street. You went there a lot with us in Reykjavik, which is the main street downtown, kind of the main street, like the shopping
Yep.
and the bars. And that was the only street that had bars.
Yeah.
And they bought a house on that street. So people were like, "You're gonna raise your children there?"
Next to a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The big city
But I think
life.
it's also, around that area. I remember when I was growing up, my dad used to say, this is a very dangerous street, Grettisgata, very dangerous street. It's I don't think any other street had more murders or something like that. And I remember as a kid, I was like, "Oh God, that must be a horrible place." And then I looked it up, and there's 2 murders from the beginning of time. That's why it's dangerous.
Oh my goodness.
And it
I
is
live on
Amazing.
that street
Yeah,
now.
and Elma lives there, so it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not dangerous.
No. It was just a really big coincidence.
How much of the population lives in the city, the capital area, I guess you'd say?
2/3, I
Yeah,
think it's
2/3.
2/3. But we do
2/3.
live, we live kind of, when you look at Iceland on a map, it does look like there's plenty of space for everyone to live all around and kind of everywhere. But when we were growing up, 11% of the country was covered by glaciers. It's down to 9% now due to climate change, but it was, it's still a huge portion.
Mhm.
And in this mid-center, there's no possibility to live because it's just mountainous, and obviously there's volcanoes everywhere, but more active ones than you would kind of maybe like to have in your garden.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So also again, Icelanders follow the fish, so we kind of live on the coastline everywhere you can access the sea easily, so you can get fish easily.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's interesting that Reykjavik was built there now because it's very windy this close to the sea. So I think Akureyri, the next biggest town or city in Iceland, they are built in kind of a better place. They're not as windy and more better weather during the summer.
It's so beautiful though. You guys picked a good spot. Your ancestors did. And when was that? Because you guys are quite young, really, as a country, as a culture. You were telling me some stories about, well, how about this? This is a fun one. You can track from the beginning of your culture. Can you not, with your ancestor app or whatever it is that you guys have?
Yes.
Please tell me about this app, because this thing is amazing.
Oh wow, it's one of my favorite websites.
The Book of Icelanders. Yeah.
Make it sound like the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Icelanders, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
So-
that's the app basically. You can it tracks every Icelander that has ever been born.
Yes, and even before that.
Yeah.
So basically, Iceland obviously is a bit of wild beast. So there were a few attempts to live in Iceland, to settle Iceland, before someone actually decided to do it full time. So that was taking place, 400, 500 maybe. And the first people that were actually going to be staying is around 800. So, and we have this amazing kind of history that has just been kept. And there were people driving, or obviously not driving, walking or horseback riding around the country and just collecting information. So they would basically go to a farm and say, who lives here? How is the lineage? And they would just write it all down. And this was kept and maintained throughout. So we have this Book of Icelanders, which is now a website, which is phenomenal. So basically, everyone is listed there, and it goes back 30, 40 generations. So if you are reading a history book and you find a Viking that you think is quite interesting and you want to look him up on the Book of Icelanders, you can actually see not if, but how much you are related to this person, because those people are our ancestors. So we can do like Snorri Sturluson, let's say, who is our most loved historian, who wrote pretty much all of the sagas and the Book of Icelanders, but also a lot of the Nordic countries share the same history. So he's really important in just the whole of Scandinavia. And we can look up how many times he is our great grandfather. He's 34 times my great grandfather.
Oh my gosh.
Mine as well.
34 times?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we are related.
I was so happy when you made me look up Auður Djúpauga,
Oh yeah, that's
the
my favorite.
Viking woman.
Mhm.
She was like I can't remember, like 30 something great grandmother. So I was like, that's very cool.
We love her.
Yeah, we love her.
She basically she owned her own ship and had a group of people that she ruled over, and she traveled from, I think, Norway to Iceland. She made stops in a few places, but her brothers had already settled here. So she decided to move here, but it was a really, really difficult winter, and she tried a few spots, but ended up in a place called Búðardalur, and settled there and had children and everything. And a lot of us come from her. And Icelandic women tend to look at her as like kind of, the DNA that's been carried through and makes us all so strong
Yeah.
and stubborn.
Strong and stubborn, yeah.
I mean,
So-
I remember saying, like, you guys are the daughters of Vikings. So many of us have seen these shows and we know about the history of the Vikings, and you guys are like modern Vikings in the flesh. Just this is how the Vikings live nowadays.
But I really love that Icelanders are not shy about the fact that the Vikings weren't really nice people, but they were from a different time. But we admit that they were not nice, but we are nice today, hopefully.
You are.
Yeah. We
Yeah,
now
quite
have some
nice.
rules.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
the story goes that basically the Vikings that were in Norway and had a difficult time following the rules,
Yeah.
they wanted to kind of escape the country that had made some rules and regulations that they need to follow,
Or were asked to leave.
or were asked to leave.
Hmm.
So they gathered ship and sailed for Iceland, where there were no rules and nothing to follow. So when they came here, we it's probably a kind of a settlement of the unruly, if you can think of it that way.
Yeah.
Sounds like another country that I know. They're sailing west to establish
Yeah.
new lands and new rules. Yeah. Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, it's definitely not a single, it's not the only story like that, but
Yeah.
it does kind of run through us. And what this Book of Icelanders also does is that there's a whole company behind it that does DNA and genealogy research. And they've been able to figure out some really remarkable things.
There have been some family drama that has has been brought to the surface.
Because when they launched the website, they listed every single person and who their actual parents were. And so there were people that opened up the website and realized that they had siblings that they didn't know of, or that or like that their dad might actually not be their dad, or their grandfather might have had, different children. So, and that might have been maybe listed somewhere just to make sure that those people wouldn't mate. But it wasn't really talked about. And they say, because they've been doing a lot of DNA research, and recently, because originally I'm an anthropologist, and that's one of the things where we really go into it, is that the year 750 and back, there's only about 4% kind of, wrong listing.
Okay,
the rest should be pretty accurate.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's
that
really,
is incredible.
really well done. Yeah, and one of the things that they've realized is that the Vikings made a stop on the way to Iceland, and they picked up women in Ireland and Scotland, really pretty women over there. And that's where we have red hair and dark hair, and different kind of more shades.
Like that guy, that our bartender at the flyover was flaming red hair, great red hair, but he would be one of the Irish Icelanders.
It's really strong in us.
And you also, this is so funny, but you when you date someone, you look each other up to see how related you are, right?
I looked it up. I had been with my boyfriend for 2 years when I was like, maybe I should check.
That's brave.
Brave, she says.
But it's like we were related in the 8th generation, which is as far as you can go, pretty much.
So you consider that safe? That's safe.
Yeah, that's safe. Yeah.
But I think it is, if you think about it, it's probably like ignorance is bliss for everyone else, because they're related in the 8th, which actually means that if they were to live anywhere else in the world, they just wouldn't know that they're in any way related. So the reason it sounds really weird is just because you guys don't know about this.
Exactly.
But you just might be related in the 5th or 6th or
completely
10th.
True. But we don't have the accurate records like you do, which is absolutely mind-blowingly incredible.
But and also it's if you count every Icelander ever born, you don't even reach 1 million. So that's probably the reason we've been able to keep it so accurate.
It's easy to track when there's not so many.
Easy to count.
And also somewhat recent in the eyes of the world. As an established culture.
Definitely.
Tell me more about why you're so protective of your names, because you mentioned that at the beginning. But there's a name registry. But aside from this, aside from the lineage, you have the name thing going on. Will you tell us about that?
Heidi knows a lot about this. You wrote your thesis on.
Yes. I wrote my thesis on this. It's a weird tradition. I think in many ways it is outdated, in the sense that we, if you look at the law environment that you need to follow, it does state at this time that the name needs to be able to tell you which sex the person is, or which gender the person is, which is really outdated, and we are working to change that. So there are some things within the kind of law environment that this committee, the naming committee,
that's right, the naming committee,
which is really outdated. But kind of the beautiful part about it, or at least in my opinion, is that it does help us maintain the rules, that they are kind of spelled the same way as they've been done for the last 1,000 years. They keep track of the meaning, and they keep track of how we use the words. So because the Icelandic language is very, very difficult, and you need to be able to kind of change the name within a sentence, at least for
and then you add the ending to it.
So
as well. 8 different ways.
8 different ways. So if you have a
you
name
did say Icelandic was easy, so
yeah.
my goodness.
So if
Yeah.
you have a name like, just yours, that would kind of be difficult to put into the Icelandic language because it wouldn't be obvious how we would convert it into the different verbs and into the different kind of
Sentences.
sentences.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have this committee, which is made up of people who know this law regulation really, really well. And they will sit down, I think it's monthly, and they will go over the applications. Because if you want to name your child something that has never been done before, you need to send in an application, and you actually need to pay for the application.
Yeah.
And they will establish if it's valid, if it can be used within the language or not. And sometimes it does feel like they're just being a little bit
Police.
yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit, and it's just their opinion kind of.
Yeah, unfair sometimes, but
Because one of the rules is that the name cannot cause you any harm or discomfort, basically. So you cannot just name your kid Lucifer.
yeah.
Because someone tried this, or he's trying to change his name, right?
There was a guy that he's trying to be named Satan, right?
He's tried it a lot.
He keeps applying, and it costs him something every time. What is it? Do you remember?
More than $100 each time.
Yeah,
Wow.
each time.
And he tries
keeps
to
getting
denied. He's
denied.
applied to Satan. I think it's like 8 times.
Yeah, and a woman, she named her kid something. She wanted to call him something Dylan because she loved Bob Dylan, and she was like, I keep trying to get them to approve this name, but they want to write it in an Icelandic way. So she didn't want that. She wanted the Bob Dylan. But yeah, so she didn't name him.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds really odd. And, the more I talk about this with my friends, I realize that this is weird. And there's a lot of people that are against this. Is this even following just regular human rights?
Yeah.
But it is a very, very small population that still speak this language. And I think that we're listed with tribe languages and languages that will easily be distinct if we don't make sure that we kind of preserve it.
Yeah.
So I think we should change kind of the regulations around it a little bit just to make it modern. But personally, I do like the fact that we make sure that it is following and makes sense within the language.
Yeah.
I do too. I think it's really pretty. I mean, it doesn't, I suppose you have a big bank of names to choose from. It's not like you can't be creative or choose something that hasn't been used in lots of years. But I would understand, there's no trademarking the name Blue Ivy in Iceland,
Yeah. There's a news announcement every time they allow
a new name.
Allow new names.
And usually they're not mean about it. Like one of the newest names that they allowed is Fjara.
Yeah.
And it means beach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that was like an obvious yes on their end because it's a word. It's not a negative word. It's easily usable. It's easily changeable. So that was just going to be an obvious yes.
Yeah.
But it's when it's something really, really difficult. And sometimes it takes a few attempts. Like it did take them a few attempts to allow cactus, for example. But
yeah, I know Vitlimay.
Yeah,
which is they didn't want to approve that.
But if you can find it in history books,
yeah.
if you can find that there's a historical kind of and anywhere written, you can get it approved pretty quickly.
Wow, that's amazing.
Vitlimay, what would be the translation? Like a wild
May? No, I'm not sure. Like a wild woman, basically.
Wild woman. Oh man, I like it.
Wouldn't want to be named that.
Yeah, right.
It was eventually approved, so you are able to be called Wild Woman if you would like.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Thank you for explaining that, and also the lineage thing, because I think that one of the things that stood out to me so much was just how unique. There are so many things that are so unique about your culture. Does anything else come to mind that you particularly like about your culture that you think is super unique?
I always like the superstitions. I think they're I think they're funny. My mom is very superstitious, so she's always like she never looks when there's a black cat walking across a street, or and I know my grandma always says that whenever she loses something, the elves took it. She's like, this couldn't have been me. It was the elves.
Definitely.
Does she recite the poem?
No, it was Maya's grandmother. She always recites the poem, but mine, I haven't heard mine do it. Do you know it?
I don't know it. My grandma used to recite the poem, and that usually meant that they would return it the day after.
Yeah, it's like a poem to the elves. If you lose something, if they will they will bring it back to you, basically.
But it's quite respectful. It's basically like, okay, I understand that you took this. I hope that you take good care of it, enjoy it, but I would appreciate to get it back.
The plea to the elves.
Yeah. It's very respectful. I think. Yeah.
That's so
I think
sweet.
the superstition about elves is also so funny, because if you ask a modern Icelander, do you believe in elves? You will get a no.
Yeah.
But then you ask them, so why don't you just move that rock, or why would this happen, or something like that? And they'll be like, it's just best not to move it. It's like, no, really logical.
It's still rooted in everything.
Yeah.
And it's used when they're building a road, and there's a Elvis rock or something. Like, there are a lot of elves that live in this rock. You can't move it. They have to build the road around it.
No kidding.
And they'll do it.
Yeah, they'll do it.
What? No way.
Because there's so many stories where they have tried to move it, and then just the machinery breaks down, and they like mysteriously break their legs or something like that. So it's just best not to trouble them.
Yeah, unexplained accidents.
Due to elves.
Yeah. And you'll see, like, you know, this is not just like a kid's superstition or like old funny women. It is, you know, you will see like middle-aged men that are like, you know, want their steak and all of that, will be like, let's not move that rock.
Let's leave the elves be. Yeah.
So
that's
I love it.
Yeah.
I think many of the stories, elves and trolls, all of that, might have to do a little bit with grown-ups trying to get their children to behave. Like, they would kind of not scold you with them, but kind of threaten you with them a little bit. You know, let's not be throwing rocks, or you might hit an elf's home, or let's not do that, or let's not pick the moss because it's the decoration of the elf's home, or something like that. So you will be taught so many stories like that.
And like our Christmas tales and everything, they're quite dark. It's Grilla, which is the mother of the Sannas, the Yule lads. We have 13 Sannas, and we call them the Yule lads. And they were like mischievous pranksters that were always coming and pranking everyone. And then their mother was kind of like a troll,
definitely,
Grilla. And she has been married 3 times. And her husband, the third husband, he's completely useless. And they have a cat that comes and gets children that didn't get any clothing.
Nothing new to wear for Christmas. The cat will eat you.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, so that's another thing.
And Grilla will eat you if you misbehave.
Yeah.
Oh no!
She cooks you in a pot.
And all of the
that is dark.
Like different pranks. They have like, what's the sniffing?
Yeah, it's like the door slammer is one of them. There's one that like kind of sniffs. Basically, he sniffs a food, so he will like basically be like, you know, kind of letting his nose lead him to your food and steal from you.
Yeah. He steals the meat,
the sausages.
Yeah, the sausages.
He only steals sausages. There's another one that only steals skyr, which is the Icelandic yogurt.
Yes.
There's so all of them have like really different. One steals candles.
Yeah.
So it's they're big pranksters, but they were kind of reinvented because we had them for a very long time, and they would just be stories that you were told so that you would behave during Christmas. But then it was kind of, which is a rare thing in Iceland, they were kind of Disneyfied, because usually we just still tell the children the dark stories. So they were Disneyfied a little bit, and now they don't wear like natural colored clothing. They wear the red kind of,
and they bring presents.
Now.
They do. So they don't just steal, they also give.
No. They bring something.
But they're always when you go somewhere and there are Santa Clauses, there'll always be like a little bit pranks. Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit of
Fighting the
pranky.
candles. And
Yeah, and they're
Yeah.
always like a little bit clumsy and just funny. They're hilarious.
yeah.
They're not like the ones that you recognize from many of the Hollywood films.
No.
But they are so basically on the 11th of December, the children will put their shoe out in the window, and then every single night until the 24th, they will get a present, just a small one
From a different
Santa
Yeah.
Claus. So each of them have their own date, and
Yeah.
they will all bring presents. Unless you misbehave, then you will get a coal or a potato.
yeah.
Potato.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and like that's one of the things that as a kid you're raised with this, and this sounds like the most normal thing
Yes.
ever. So it's one of those
And
things.
it's usually like one of the presents is usually like socks, so the cat doesn't come and eat you.
Ah, smart. Because
Yes.
that's, I would imagine that's not always your fault as a child if you don't have something
No.
new to wear. Don't want to get eaten.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
it's kind of, those stories are quite dark, but I think as well, like you talked about the trolls before. The trolls go out at night, so they can roam around in the nighttime, but as soon as the light hits them, they turn into stone. They get petrified.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that probably just asking children not to be going out in the dark.
Which is hard during the winter in Iceland.
It's always dark.
Yeah, it's always
super.
dark.
Yeah.
I mean, you see them everywhere, and I think, all around the world, the stories of like laying in the grass and watching the clouds and trying to look for faces or figures. But in Iceland, we are obviously covered by lava. There's lava fields everywhere. So as a kid, you would go around trying to find faces in the lava, and they would be trolls that didn't make it home.
They are trolls.
Yeah.
They are petrified trolls in the lava.
Yeah.
And then now the elves live inside them, which
Yeah.
is kind of funny.
Right.
And you can actually see this at Sky Lagoon. When you're in the lagoon, you're just constantly looking for faces,
Yeah.
and there's a couple.
There are a couple of
Shoot, I
things.
didn't
Yeah.
look for them.
There's
Next
some
time.
quite good ones, and it's really funny because when we're maybe posting photos or something from there, it's we get comments from Icelanders just like, "Do you see that? Do you see the face over there?" And then it's just a thread that starts. People like, "Oh yeah, I see it."
There's one in the waterfall.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so
There's a
special.
troll in our waterfall.
So what is
Yeah.
your favorite? If somebody were to come and visit you, an outsider, what would you treat them to in Iceland? Like what would be your idea of showing somebody Reykjavik
Good
and
question.
Iceland?
Mm. I would probably show them a lot of around the capital area because I'm from there.
Mhm.
But I would definitely bring them to Sky Lagoon, of course.
Mhm.
But probably I love the Rainbow Road, and I love taking people to eat here. We
Mhm.
have a lot of good restaurants, and a lot of good restaurants that offer like traditional Icelandic food, but it's still kind of they make it amazing, really. Like the plokkfiskur, which is
Fish stew.
yeah, fish stew. It doesn't sound good, but it's really good. And I would and I love telling stories behind the food and everything. I would
Eat it
definitely-
with freshly baked rye bread.
Yes.
That's so good. I think food wise, we are huge foodies. I think there's so much that the weather controls here in Iceland. And sometimes you can't do the things that you want to do, but you can always have a good meal.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things, you can always
take a swim.
Yeah.
And you can always have a good meal.
And I think that's one of the two things that if the weather is bad, it doesn't really matter. There's always going to be a lot of people in the swimming pools or in the lagoons around Iceland. There's going to be a lot of people treating themselves to a nice meal because they deserve it because the weather is bad.
Yeah.
And there's always going to be a queue at the ice cream shop.
Yeah, always.
No matter what.
Definitely, I would do that as well. Take people out for ice cream in Iceland. It's we have amazing ice cream. And we put a lot of candy in it.
It's really good. It's like the Dairy Queen Blizzard, but better.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of candy. We love licorice. We have licorice on everything. Even our movie theaters have licorice powder where you can put over your popcorn.
Wow. Yeah, it was. When we were just talking about when we were in the Smakk Bar in Sky Lagoon, we were eating chocolate with licorice, pieces of licorice, like chunks of licorice in it, not just a flavor, but like the actual licorice.
Do you like it?
It wasn't my favorite, but I didn't dislike it. It was just interesting because it felt like I was eating, it's like almost having 2 bites of something at once, because in my mind they were so different, yet there was in the same bite. So I didn't dislike it, but yeah, it was interesting.
Even in the small grocery stores, we still have like a whole aisle dedicated to candy.
Wow.
It's it's insane.
I don't know what it is.
No.
But I think licorice is a little bit like coffee. See, now that you had a bite of chocolate that had licorice in it and you didn't hate it, you might just need to do a little bit more and then you'll be on the train.
I completely understand that. I really do, because I did that with coffee. I just wanted to like it. So I just kept trying it. So I could totally see that.
And in the end, you'll want like licorice ice cream with licorice dip and licorice toppings. It is. I think licorice is just something that I'm not quite. Does it store well, or I don't know. We just love it.
It's very salty. We love salt.
Yep, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's really bad for you though, but it's really good.
Yes.
But I think that wanting to treat a person to something within Reykjavik would be a fantastic meal.
Yeah.
And an obvious choice would be Sky Lagoon for us because it's downtown and it's the best of Iceland within kind of one visit, I think. But outside of Iceland, outside of Reykjavik, my ultimate favorite is the West Fjords, which is, if you're looking at a map of Iceland, it's the head of the monster. It's the most remote. It's the most remote. It's the oldest part of Iceland. It was formed in the first eruption that created Iceland. And it's the most isolated. There's only, I think in total, there's 3,000 beds that are hotels, Airbnbs in total. So there can never be more visitors than that within the West Fjords. And it's a gem. It's a total gem.
I would like to go there.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
next
it's great
time.
for hiking. If anyone likes hiking, if anyone likes whale watching, if anyone wants to meet like a proper old fisherman that will speak to you only in Icelandic and give you rotten shark. I don't know if anyone has seen the video of Gordon Ramsay eating a rotten shark.
Yeah, that's in the West Fjords.
That's in the West Fjords, and that's hilarious because the old man is just making fun of him the whole time in Icelandic, but the woman that's with him is supposed to be translating, and she is not giving him the right translations.
Is she being polite?
So polite, which is so funny because the old man is just calling him like a 7-year-old girl. Gordon Ramsay doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Now we know. I'm gonna have to look that up. I have not seen that, but that sounds very entertaining. Oh,
Yeah, I would say Icelanders they have dark humor and are very sarcastic, so maybe it doesn't translate well. I don't know.
It is so funny though, that show is so funny because he keeps being told off by every single Icelander and he just doesn't know. He goes like lamping with some farmer and his young daughter is just telling him off the whole time. And Gordon, poor thing, doesn't have a clue.
Yeah, I guess we don't care about status.
No, I mean, she doesn't know who Gordon Ramsay is. He's just a silly man that is ruining her lamping season.
Oh my gosh. All right, so a good meal. You guys took us to Monkeys, by the way, and that was so good. I was so excited to discover that place. It was really good. Would you call that sort of also traditional or?
No, but they have a lot of, I wouldn't say traditional, but they have a lot of Icelandic fish and it's very good. They prepare it, with like chili and what was it called? The rainbow Arctic char or something.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was delicious.
Like Arctic char, ceviche.
Yeah.
I think in many ways, like the dishes that we used to have are kind of difficult to I don't know, get to know right now.
Yeah.
But it's the quality of the produce.
Yeah.
Of the ingredients. that really kind of drives it home. It's the fish that is just better than anything else you'll have.
Yeah, we're fish snobs.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
As you should be.
Yeah.
As you should be. Yeah. Because I remember when we were sitting in BakaBaka in the upstairs having the pizza, and you were telling us that a lot of the restaurants were actually, or a lot of the restaurants actually feature foreign food because that's what the Icelanders want.
Yeah.
And so we were actually talking about that on the other part of the episode. And so I want to correct anything that we said that may have been wrong, that you can find really, really good traditional Icelandic food. Where would you suggest people go for that? Like, what's your favorite restaurant for
I
Icelandic?
don't want to sound like a broken record, but that's the whole concept of Smakk Bar at Sky Lagoon.
Yes.
Yeah.
We
It's
did talk about
introduced-
that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
basically introducing you and everyone else that visits to Icelandic cuisine, but the good stuff. It's been cherry picked, the things that we are still eating 1,000 years later that is actually good, and that when you're living abroad, you think about a miss. So
Yeah, like pickled herring.
our pickled herring,
It's amazing.
and the gravlax, which is cured salmon.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. And I'm a pescatarian, so maybe you can talk about the meat.
Yeah, the meat is also very good. We have the reindeer pate. It's very good. And we also know the vendors quite well. So it's the brothers that they argue all the time. They never agree on anything, but when they agree on something, it's amazing.
Mm.
And that's
I think you
the
were telling us
pate.
about
Where are
that.
they from
Yeah.
again?
They're from the city.
Yeah.
But if you see them, it's hilarious. One is really tall, one is short, one is dark haired, one is blonde, and they will disagree on everything. And being in the same room, you're just like, this is never going to end.
They're arguing in front of you.
It's very Italian or something. And then in the end, they're just like, okay, fine, this is what we're doing. And then you taste it, and you're like, oh, okay, it was worth it.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And so they're assisting us with doing the food. And what they have is this kind of immense passion about having the ingredients better than the best. So they have it's a father and son duo that hunt the geese,
Oh yeah,
the reindeer, everything that we have here. And they are in connection with the farms where they want to get the lamb. They get the jam, for example. We buy that from a company that only uses wild blueberries or bilberries, actually, that are from the West Fjords that I spoke about before. Because if you ask anyone in Iceland, that's where you find the best bilberries.
Yeah.
Because they're the most plump. So they're really, really good. And it did take a while to kind of pick all of those, but that's why we want it to be platters, tasting platters, because the concept is the best of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, and it was
You
so
kind of
delicious.
get a taste of our culture, like food culture.
Yeah, one of the
Absolutely.
best ways, I think, if you only have like a short time to spend in Iceland, the best two ways to take in the culture is by eating your way through the culture, and then soaking in the culture. So the combination is quite good here at Sky Lagoon. But there are obviously these are like platters. So if you want to go for like a big meal, there are some great restaurants downtown that specialize in fish.
Yeah.
And I would say like there's a place called Fiskmarkaðurinn.
It's very good.
And
And
also
also
market.
I know Rock, they have like small dishes, and they offer like what we talked about earlier, the fish stew, which is blokkfiskur in Icelandic. They have a very good one there, and they bring the rye bread with it as well. It's very good.
And what
And
did you
also,
say was the name of that one?
Rock, which means wind.
Okay.
It's ROK.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
One of the few ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was expecting something more from that, but that was actually quite simple. All right. Love it. I feel like you guys kind of just almost summed up, using food as the example, the type of, I think, place and culture that you are, because while you don't have a lot, what you have is super quality.
no matter what you're looking at, whether it's the people or even the name thing, you know, like what you're trying to do is make it the best of the best. And I think that's a really great sort of summary of what I feel like I got to experience in your little country that was just so incredibly quality. So
It's nice to hear.
Yeah.
oh my
It's
God,
really
I
nice.
loved it.
Yeah.
It was so nice. And you guys really helped make it so, I'm going to use the word entertaining and just so interesting, the stories that you tell. And I mean, I'm imploring upon my listeners to get to know the locals when they come to Iceland, because you have so much to share. And I love how open you've been about your stories and just willing to go down those tangents with us, because that's exactly how I experienced it with you in person. And so it was fun to be able to do that
That's
again
great to hear.
here today. But yeah, thank you guys both so much. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know that you're super busy with your high season in summer in Iceland.
Yeah, actually raining and now, so
Well, we're still cheerful. We're preparing.
Yeah.
It's Pride Week here. So Reykjavik Pride is taking place next week. So we've been preparing for that, creating, doing all the decorations and everything to show our support.
yeah.
Excellent. Good for you. So Elma and Heidi are both, they work at Sky Lagoon. So if you guys go to Sky Lagoon, you might get a chance to say hi to them. And thank you so much for your time and for sharing your stories. And
Thank you.
Thank you as well.
I can't wait
so
to see you guys
lovely.
again. Next time,
Yeah.
maybe we'll go to the West Fjords, because
Yeah, definitely.
We'll do some hiking, pick some berries.
Yes, I love it. Let's go foraging. Let's build our own snack tray.
Sounds perfect.
All right. Well, you have made it all the way through the longest jump episode to date. I sincerely hope you enjoyed our visit to Iceland today. Be sure to check the show notes for most of the fun things that we mentioned, including how to contact and make reservations at both flyovericeland.com and skylagoon.com. Also, there are 2 really great guides linked there that Kirsten created for travelers for both the Grandi neighborhood in Reykjavik and for the Sky Lagoon. So check those out for a lot more of the details and, of course, the imagery from our trip if you still haven't had enough. And I don't blame you if you haven't. I haven't either. I cannot wait to go back. I hope when you go to Iceland, you'll choose to do the incredible flyover experience as well as the Sky Lagoon. If you do, pop by our Instagram at jump.adventures and let us know what you think. Thank you so much for being here today and listening all the way to the end. My parting word to you today is Thetaretast. It will all be okay. Don't forget to subscribe to stay in the loop for all things Jump Adventures at jumpadventures.com. Safe travels to you, and we'll be back soon.